we're still waiting on that Bradley Beal buyout. So in the meantime, we might as well talk about Jordan Ott and DeMarre Carroll and Rasheer Fleming. New episode of PHNX Suns coming right up. Psychos and sickos, welcome to another edition of the PHNX Suns Podcast, live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. We've got a lot to talk about today. I'm Gerald Bourguet, your temporary host, joined as always by Stephen Pridgeon-Garner. Eric is still at Big 12 Media Day. You've heard me say that before this week. Why do they call it Big 12 Media Day? It's been a week. But we do have, Eric was kind enough to send us this update from Big 12 Media Day. We have this live footage for you here. For our audio listeners, we've got the meme of the little kid drowning and the parent paying attention to one child. That is our Big 12 Media Day. PHNX Suns, we are treading water this week with all the press conferences and Summer League stuff. But we're doing great. I'm doing great. Steven, how are you?
We're being stretched in. Got a little adversity that we're being challenged with, but strength in numbers. Mm-hmm. So we are here, we are locked in, and we just hit y'all with a boom shakalaka worth of content for today from two guys. Mm-hmm. And then we're here on the pod now to talk about it all with you two. So appreciate us as we appreciate y'all. This is only Wednesday. It feels like it's Friday at this point, the way this week has been trending. But we are here, we are locked in, and we appreciate y'all tapping in with us again.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Eric, who was able to record a Suns short earlier today from Big 12 Media Day with James Jones no longer with the Suns, accepting a new role with the league. Great for him. Congratulations to him. As much as, you know, people have their complaints about James Jones and the job that he did, he was also responsible for one of the biggest 3-year turnarounds in NBA history, going from 19 wins to a finals team and one of the best records in NBA and the best record in Suns franchise history. So congrats to James Jones. Wish him the best moving forward. Steven, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of clips as we promised yesterday, because we've had a lot of people cycle through, have media availability, and there's been so many new additions to this team, both on the coaching staff and on the player side, that there's been questions to go around galore. Today, we are going to focus a little bit more on the coaching side of things because we haven't got to hear from Ott since, I think, his introductory press conference. And we also got to hear from assistant coach DeMarre Carroll yesterday, who will be the head coach of the Summer Suns at Summer League. So that's some exciting stuff. And obviously, when a new coach comes into the building for what feels like the 10th year in a row, it's always fun to hear from the guys in terms of getting to know the coach and what they're learning about them. Here's what Ryan Dunn had to say about his impressions of Jordan Ott so far.
Like O said, we've been coming here at night, and he's been in his room watching film. And first day he got here, he called me and said, "Come to my office," and we sat for 30, 45 minutes and just talking about the system that he wants to play. So it's been cool, and just off the court, he's just a very good guy, very laid back, youthful coach. So I'm excited to learn from him, and I'm excited to see what happens in seasons.
Yeah, it sounds like he's being very much intentional about taking this opportunity that Summer League is presenting them with, and not just using it as a developmental point for the players already on the roster, but also using it as a piece to help establish that foundation for everything to come with training camp. And what's surprisingly just a couple calendar flips away at this point. It's not as far away as it seems. And it sounds like he's doing a great job with that. I think the DeMarre Carroll bringing him into his brain trust in particular is a direct extension of him because of the relationship pre-existing that they had even before their season spent with Cleveland last year. Obviously, we'll hear and get more into that in today's episode, but it feels like things are aligning. There you go.
There it is. We need the buzzer. Hey, alignment alert.
There it is.
We did it.
it feels like things are aligning in the appropriate manner for him again before he's even able to actually start coaching the group comprehensively.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Ott talking about the difference shifting over that one chair to the main coaching job and all the little things that you see as an assistant but don't realize that you're now responsible for. And this, clip from Dunn kind of backed up what we had been hearing about Jordan Ott and his work ethic and how he's going to outwork pretty much everybody. You notice that he said, like O said. So Oso Ighodaro was actually the first to kind of address how Jordan Ott has been in the building a lot. But I wanted to save this one for a second because these rookies are some of the nicest guys on earth. I don't think what they were saying was meant to be vindictive, but these next two clips that we're going to play for you, it kind of comes off a little bit as Mike Budenholzer slander.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, me and Rob been doing 2 days all summer, and when we come back at night, he's still in here. He's in here till 8, 9 at night just working. So just love seeing that. He's out here running individuals and all types of stuff. So I think being a leader, and showing you're in it with us and not just saying you're going to work hard, but actually doing it has been really great to see.
Am I reading too much into that, or did that seem a little bit pointed at previous leadership in the coaching seat? I don't know.
No, I don't think it was intentional, but again, because what was lacking last season was as loud as it was.
Yeah.
Having something that is on the contrasting side of it naturally is going to come across as that, and it's not intentional, to your point, which is why I'm glad you set it up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another example of why context always matters.
Right.
On today's episode of PHNX Suns. That being said, though, again, these are the things that we keep hearing Brian Gregory mention daily habits. Daily habits. You are who you are the way you show up every day. There's going to be anomalies, but the consistency is going to outweigh the anomaly when you're consistent with showing who you truly are. And again, these foundational days are just extremely important because it's setting the tone for whatever it is to come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it best. I think B.S. Murray added on to that. Not intentional, but definitely insightful. Again, I don't think these rookies have a malicious bone in their body outside of dunking on people, but it's pretty revealing to hear him say, leadership is being in here working with us and setting the example and not just saying you're going to work and not doing it. That feels pretty revealing about what they were looking up to last season. And Ryan Dunn, on a different question, kind of, I don't know if he was talking about other players around the league. I think it was probably that. But it was interesting when he was asked kind of what he learned from his rookie year. And he kind of started talking about don't let anybody get in your head, don't get down, trust yourself, and play your game, which, as we all know, Mike Budenholzer was kind of limiting him in that way. Here's what Dunn had to say.
Just slow down and trust yourself. You're going to make mistakes. Be aggressive, be confident in who you are. Don't let people try to knock who you are as a person, and just overall just be who you are as a person. Be aggressive and know yourself as a player. People are going to try to challenge you. Don't get in your head. Don't let nobody try to push you or punk you. Just trust yourself. And again, this is only year 2 for me, so I still got a lot more to learn, especially as a player, and having this leadership role with O and us to, leading the team, but also have a little bit more of that on-ball activity, more offensively and defensively, can help us a lot.
Don Thaddeo, that's crazy in the chat. I thought it was interesting, the whole just don't let anyone change you as a person. That's kind of an odd part of answering a question about your NBA rookie year. Don't let anybody punk you, push you around. That could be referring to the competition, stuff like that. But it really does feel like, if I'm reading between the lines here, Ryan Dunn is aware that he should have been playing. Everyone in the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona was aware that Ryan Dunn should have been playing. It was baffling that he wasn't. Almost everyone. One person was not. The most important one. But that's fine. But I do think he kind of took that learning experience, and I don't want to say he has a chip on his shoulder, but I think he did learn from it, to his point.
Yeah, that's the tough part, because as a rookie, especially if you're not of the Cooper flag ilk, nothing is really guaranteed to you. Kamen Malawach is a top 10 pick.
Right.
He's not even guaranteed to be starting on this team, yet alone even playing a significant amount of minutes at this moment.
Right.
that's just kind of the dice roll that comes with it. Even if you do have a specific set of skills that is honestly as fit as perfectly as it could to address some of the weaknesses of the team, you see it, you feel like it's as obvious as anything, and you just want to help the team win. That's a tough bit to kind of be handed, but at the same time, there's opportunity to learn from it. And it feels like, for me, if I'm looking forward for Ryan Dunn and even Oso to certain extents too, not being necessarily given what you feel like you earned early on should only up the gratitude, but also keep the urgency level at a point to where you don't want to be going back because you saw how it felt to not have the opportunities that you felt like you deserved or earned at any given moment. So again, having that as a foundational layer of your career and seeing the losses that came with that in a literal sense for you as a player on minutes, but as a team as well, should help them going forward.
Yeah, that's kind of the silver lining that I take from a rookie year where they were not given the minutes that they, deserve, that they earned. Oso referred to it yesterday when he was talking about when you get a bunch of young guys together. I think he used the words hungry, and there's a sense of desperation. Like these guys understand that just because we were here last year, just because the front office is high on us, like we still have our work cut out for us to continue improving, to put in the right work ethic, to set an example for 3 new incoming rookies. All these young guys that are now going to be competing for minutes. It's going to be kind of a free-for-all under a first-year head coach who is still going through the process of learning all their strengths and weaknesses. So I'm glad that they're approaching it the right way. It did kind of suck that they didn't play as much as they needed to last year, especially because we had to watch, Mason Plumlee extended minutes, Yusuf Nurkic extended minutes, a lot of I could keep naming names, but I don't want to be mean. Like it was not fun. Those guys injected energy and life and youth, and the Suns saw that and decided to crank it up to the nth degree with the offseason that they had. So I don't know if this team will be good, but hopefully they will be more exciting and there'll be more hope in terms of watching some of these younger guys develop. But we are talking a little bit about Jordan Ott and what to expect from him. We've heard work ethic. We've heard this is a guy that has a cutting edge mind. He's always trying to, see what trends are happening in the NBA and get ahead of them. And on top of that, he mentioned a lot of things at his press conference in terms of wanting to be more aggressive on the perimeter, wanting to play faster, wanting to involve more player movement and cuts. So when we did talk to Ryan Dunn, one of the big things that jumps out at us from all of those things that I just mentioned was the perimeter ball pressure. And again, it was kind of revealing the answer that he gave when he was asked about, the first practice and being able to do that again.
It's cool. It's the first practice. When we did it, I felt gassed. Like my legs were heavy. I was like, I haven't done this in so long. But it feels good getting back out there today. Again, that pressure. And not even just me. I would say Khalif Paddle and Boogie Ellis are just 2 dogs. Like those two, even pressuring me, I'm bringing up the fall in there, and they're honing on me, trying to turn me over. And they turned me over a couple of times. And it's just those two can get after anybody. So it's been great having those two and everybody. Yuri as well coming in being aggressive. So it's cool, we're trying to slow the game down for the offense, and that's a good job of just, not even try to limit turnovers, but make it not comfortable for the offense.
I haven't done this in so long. Steven, why did they draft him if they weren't going to have him do that? That was the best thing that he was good at in college, was the defensive end, was pressuring the ball, was being a defensive playmaker, and they reined him in. They reined in our boy, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I think you said it best throughout the season. Sam Vecini mentioned that Ryan Dunn was one of the best defensive prospects in recent memory for draft prospects. So you bring in a defensive-minded guy for an offensive-minded team.
Yep.
There seems to be a natural marriage and opportunity for me in giving you something that you just don't have.
Yeah.
And then we just never really saw it. Very refreshing to hear, and it sounded refreshing in the tone from Ryan Dunn as well, to be kind of leaning more back into the things that made him the piece that the Suns ultimately valued him as in last year's draft. I'm looking forward to him being unleashed completely on the defensive end in ways that, 1, he wasn't featured in last season, but 2, he'll have help around him to where you can pressure more because you know that you'll have someone that's on time and on schedule behind you, whether it be the first layer of help or at the rim from the center group that he has, as well as a head coach that's not going to allow for slippage in any capacity there too. So I think now he's finally in that position where that marriage is going to be gotten the most out of as much as it could be.
We hope so, because he was drafted for a specific set of skills. And I think the 3-point shooting last year was well ahead of where we thought it was, but he still only shot 31% from three. So there's still a lot of work to be done on that front. He did say he was working primarily on his body to bulk up a little bit more, get a little bit stronger, and he does look a little bit bigger. But he's also working on his shot. He's working on his ball handling. He's working on pick and roll reads, because on this team, you know, he's handling the ball a little bit more for summer league. So it's exciting to talk about a second year player and where they might improve. But for me, a lot of it might just come down to being used correctly and being unleashed on the perimeter, because you have, like we talked about yesterday, you have rim protection, which you did not have last year between Mark Williams and Kaman Malawach. You are hopefully going to be able to extend yourself a little bit further, to take chances, to be more aggressive on the defensive end than you were last year. And that's somewhere where Ryan Dunn and Rasheer Fleming can really thrive in particular. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ott plays this, how he divvies up the minutes for sure. But I think as much as we're excited about the rookies and we're excited about a lot of these newcomers, I'm kind of excited for just some of the internal development that we might see from Ryan Dunn from being used better.
Yeah, definitely. I think we touched on a lot of the skill development points to look for with Ryan Dunn as soon as Friday when they start summer league play, which I think we'll get a solid dosage and volume of him on the ball, which it should definitely kind of suggest that he's going a certain direction with that. I also want to see him and his footwork around the rim as a player that's good at getting to the paint. A lot of young guys are great at getting there, but it's like, what are you doing once you're there? Because what you did on the collegiate level, you're probably not out jumping the percentile of people that you did on the college level. You're also not finishing through contact to that same extent. So footwork-wise, is he playing more off of 2 feet? Is he playing off of some pump fakes? Is he getting into some jump stops? Like little things like that might just get him to the free throw line more than anything. And he was solid enough there to where if that's more a part of his shot profile, you got a real impact player coming off the bench or potentially starting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Steven, any final thoughts on Jordan Ott and what to expect before we move on to what was kind of one of my favorite stories to emerge from practice availability yesterday?
All good.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about DeMarre Carroll and Jordan Ott's relationship and how their paths kind of intersected over the years right after this break. Steven, I need gas on the way home, and do you know where I'm going to stop for gas?
I think there's only one place in mind.
There's only one place, and we are in the studio for this place. It is the Circle K. This is America's thirst stop, you guys. There's one on every corner, so you really can't miss it, to be honest with you. And if you join the Inner Circle, it's a free membership program. It's easy to download and get enrolled. You can enjoy a lot of nice benefits from this free membership. Currently, they've got cookies for $1. You want a cookie? It's only $1. You want a Froster? It's only 99 cents. Froster, I can't even do the dad joke on that one. But they also have $2.50 iced teas, 2 of them. Like, we're in Arizona. Get an Arizona iced tea, 2 for $2.50. It's a great program. And you can join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. And you know what, Steven, it's really hot on my way home. And by the time I get home with my Froster from Circle K, I'm probably going to need to sit in some shade. So I'm going to have to reach out to All Pro Shade Concepts because they're the most trusted local shade company, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024. They can extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning with hundreds of designs and colors to choose from to match any home. And these patio shades can block out the sun. They can keep your patio up to 20 degrees cooler. So if it's 114 degrees out like it is today, guess what? That's only like 94 degrees outside. You can maybe actually enjoy your backyard a little bit more. 94 still maybe pushing it. But hundreds of colors and durable fabric to withstand the AZ sun. You can choose from manual or motorized. And these guys are licensed. They're bonded. They're insured. They've been in business for 20 years in the Valley. So make sure to call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. Steven, I should also probably talk about this too, because I am not, as much as we talk about, my articles that I write on the website, I'm not the only person that writes. You write occasionally. You do exceptional work on the video breakdown side, which we are definitely going to dive into in our final segment for today. But we also have someone who is a daily writer with our PHNX daily newsletter. Pat does a tremendous job touching on various sports from around the Valley. Pretty much, it's the biggest news in Arizona sports in your inbox daily at 6 a.m. It is completely free to get this daily newsletter. So be the smartest sports fan that you know. Go phnx.com/newsletter to sign up. It's really great. Patrick does a great job. It's hard work doing one of those every single day. I mean, trust me, I do 3 to 4 a week and I'm gassed. So make sure to give our boy Pat some love and sign up if you are a Valley sports fan across all sports in the Valley. Steven, let's talk about DeMarre Carroll, because obviously a lot of people know him from his playing days. I'm not sure how many people knew how long he has actually been in assistant coaching and his journey and how much it's intersected with Jordan Ott, actually. But if you did not know this, back when Jordan Ott was first hired as a video coordinator by the Atlanta Hawks under Mike Budenholzer, DeMarre Carroll was there. He had two of his best years in his NBA career in Atlanta, but their paths didn't cross a ton in Atlanta. It was really in Brooklyn where they developed a close relationship. That they kind of, he was his player development coach. Jordan Ott was under Kenny Atkinson there. And Carroll was kind of on his last legs of his career. He was 31 years old at that point. But I kind of want to get Jordan Ott's perspective, because he talked a little bit about DeMarre's journey and how that can be relatable for a lot of these younger players coming in.
His playing style and kind of as a junkyard dog, like how much of that is what you guys are trying to have here too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think his path, like not only his style on the court, but first round pick, really didn't get out of those 4 years on that rookie deal. He had to find his own way, bounced around a little bit, then found a home, found someone that valued him. And then, he was able to have some playoff success, and his career really took off. So his path is easily relatable to these guys that he mentioned right to him on day one. Like, you don't know where this journey is going to take you. So his path wasn't always straight up. He had a couple bounces, a couple rough patches in it. So he's been able to convey that to the guys, and I think it's good for our guys to see someone like that now make it on the other side with some experience.
I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. I think the one thing that stands out to me about that is the relatability factor, because a lot of these guys coming in are younger. They are looking to make their way in the league. And DeMarre Carroll was a guy who really had to work at his game to figure things out. As he mentioned, like, he wasn't getting these big rookie contract extensions. He had to kind of find his way and his role in the league. He obviously known for his 3-and-D skill set, but the way that he developed over the years and the way that he learned to adjust with the game is something that you'll want to see from a lot of these Suns youngsters moving forward.
Yeah, DeMarre Carroll, the phrase is out the mud. Nothing was given, everything was earned in every capacity, from minutes as a player to being one of the top tier 3-and-D players, especially at that time in the mid-2000s, where every team was looking for 4 to 5 of those guys to play between a 2 and a 4 for their respective teams. He brought that and then some. That is not an easy job to do.
Yeah,
it's not, like, it's probably the most trying job to have in the league, in particular at that position. For him to have found success there, I think there's a level of relatability for him with players like Ryan Dunn and Rasheer Fleming in particular, but generally speaking, the entire crop of role players that they have coming into this team. It's different when someone can literally relate to your shoes and the everyday pressure that comes with, I got to bring it, otherwise I'm not sure what tomorrow has in terms of certainty for me from summer league, yet alone going through the actual first season or second season for some of these guys.
Absolutely. And it's important when an assistant coach is able to relate to a player and where they are at in their journey and where they need to adjust their game in order to continue that journey. And that's something that you don't necessarily have to be a former player for, but it definitely helps. And it's kind of interesting that DeMarre Carroll is an example of this in a way, because when he was in Brooklyn, he was 31. He was kind of on his last legs. He had just gotten traded like 2 years into a 4-year, $60 million deal with the Toronto Raptors. And he was traded to this rebuilding, very young, very bad team. And so it was interesting to hear DeMarre Carroll talked about how Jordan Ott, who was his player development coach in Brooklyn, helped extend his career and actually put him on the path to becoming a coach?
Biggest thing we was working on is obviously shooting, right? Just getting shots up, but the way we was getting the shots up was way different than the standard, just stand there and shoot, right? Movement. Like he said, no shot in the NBA is a repetitive shot. You don't get the same shot. So he really helped my shooting improve. Obviously, he helped me kind of shift my focus toward the end of my year to kind of helping the younger guys. And he kind of taught me off that limb. Every NBA player, when you get to that end, you think you still got it. But sometimes you got to help the next generation. And he kind of helped me look at that and kind of gave me a real, genuine conversation. And I think that kind of extended my career.
So firstly, to the shooting point, he did shoot the third best percentage of his career outside of like his 2 best years in Atlanta that year in Brooklyn. And he did it on a career high attempts. The second thing is, these are the stories that I love about covering the NBA, because you hear a former player just kind of flat out admit, like, when you're near the end, it takes you a while to like admit it or to realize it. And Jordan Ott, that conversation with him helped him shift his thinking to helping the younger guys, helping the next generation. And I think in that moment, he realized that how much he enjoyed it. And that we asked, was that kind of what set you on the path to becoming a coach? And he was like, there you go. So in a way, it's really cool that Jordan Ott, his assistant coach journey, you never hear a lot about these assistant coaches until they make it to this seat. But Jordan Ott played a direct role in DeMarre Carroll becoming an assistant coach. They coached together on Darvin Ham's staff in LA, and then in Kenny Atkinson's staff. They reunited with Kenny in Cleveland last year. So they've actually been in 4 different stops in the NBA throughout their time together. I'm not sure a lot of people realize that, but it's really cool when you can kind of peel back the layers of the onion and see some of the driving forces behind, okay, why did this former player decide to pursue this path and extend their career in that way?
Yeah, this is a very, very unique situation and story that I'm glad we're kind of getting able to assess for everybody and kind of even just show everybody in terms of what was being said, because a lot of NBA players, especially when you have had a certain level of success, it gets hard to strip down ego and pride and extend humility, but also extend trust to someone like Jordan Ott, who's played basketball before, but not at the NBA level. So for DeMarre to strip all of that down, listen to what he had to say, go through the drills and the uniqueness of that we'll kind of get to, it just says a lot about the trust part. And I think that part is as important as anything, because we saw what trust did not look like last season. And I hate to keep coming back to it, but when we have so many examples over 82 games that are so loud, from the coaching staff to the players to both entities together, knowing that this is at their foundation and it's been built upon for multiple years now, in a coaching capacity in particular, it just hits different. And it sounds like he's doing a lot of movement shooting, which I think is going to be an integral piece of everything that Jordan Ott is getting to, with having been at the reins of an offense and a team this upcoming season with the Suns. We'll get into a lot of that in the Ott film session to come. That's not out yet, but definitely looking forward to kind of speaking to those things and potentially talking with him about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about the trust, Ott was talking about kind of assembling a coaching staff for the first time, and how, in his experience, when you're on a good coaching staff, like, you can feel it. And so he's trying to recreate that here in Phoenix. He's trying to find not just good basketball minds that fit the way that they want to play, but also people that are going to be ingrained in what they're doing here and the culture they're trying to establish, that can get along. He mentioned, when you're on a staff that has no egos and everybody gets along, you can just feel the effects of that. So for those who are wondering why it's been taking so long for him to assemble his staff, I do think that kind of takes time, A, for a first-year head coach, and B, he wants to do it the right way. And so far, from the sounds of it, he's already off to a great start. But that's kind of how Jordan Ott helped DeMarre Carroll. We were also kind of curious from DeMarre Carroll's perspective, this guy that he referred to him as his best friend. Like, how has he seen Jordan Ott grow as a coach? And this is what he told me.
Oh man, he's a mastermind. Like, he thinks outside the box. So I think you guys are gonna see a lot of that. He thinks outside the box. He changes with the game. You know, the NBA changes all the time, and he tried to change before it changed. So he's been great, man. I think he's ready for his opportunity. He earned this opportunity. He's ready for it, and he really helped us in Cleveland. You know, he ran that whole offense for us. So he's been great, man. I'm excited for him, and I think this is a great opportunity.
A mastermind, changes before the game changes, thinks outside the box, ran the whole offense in Cleveland, which was a top 5 offense. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And I think of the things that Jordan Ott, or of the things that DeMarre Carroll has mentioned, that's staying aware of trends, but also staying ahead of trends.
Yeah.
That part in particular, it takes a certain level of dedication to where instead of always being in a position to where you and your team feel like you're always reacting to something that opponents are doing to you, you will be able to dictate to them. And when they bring something you might have to react to, rather than you reacting directly to that, it's going to be more of a counterpunch than I have to adjust because I don't know what to do in response to what you're doing. This is gamesmanship. This is that mastermind, that masterfulness that they're speaking to with them. That's what you need from a head coach, especially when you have some top-end pieces like he does with Phoenix. I think that's going to be something that we see a big difference in because that was not an advantage, or at least not the one that we expected to see last season. It feels like he's going to be a breath of fresh air on the preparation side, but also the adjusting in real time.
Right. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we were hopeful with Vogel that he would be able to coax, you know, a top 10 championship caliber defense out of the Suns. The personnel did him no favors there, obviously. But then we did the same thing with Bud in terms of they're going to shoot more threes. They're going to play faster. They're going to be an offensive and defensive juggernaut. And that was an unmitigated disaster. So I want to wait for him to prove himself first before I get too far ahead. But I do think, like, I feel really good about what he might be able to do. Maybe he doesn't have the tools. Maybe they're too young. It's going to take some time to develop. But it would be nice to go into a game on a nightly basis, into a Suns game, and feel like, yes, the team is prepared. Yes, they have a good game plan. Yes, they have an identifiable playing style, because we haven't had that since Monty was here. And this is why we said way back then, if you're going to fire Monty, we get it, but like you have to nail what comes next. They've been 0 for 2 so far. We're hopeful that going in a different direction, younger, with kind of this cutting edge mastermind, as DeMarre called him, yields better results than what we've seen with 2 former championship caliber coaches.
Yeah. And I just continue to harp on the same thing that I mentioned when he got hired. The film room guys are just different.
Yeah.
Their moxie is different. The way that they look at things are different. The way they prep is different. And it reverses throughout the rest of the franchise, honestly. Other quick thing for me, prime example of what we're speaking to in contrast to what we saw last year. Talking about their prep against the Cavaliers, right?
Yeah.
2-3 zone. They play a lot of it last season. Get into the game, we see the 2-3 zone happen. We get in the post game, and Kevin Durant speaks to them not having had a package for a 2-3 zone. I know Kevin Durant is a zone buster in and of himself, but if there's no preparation there against a team like Cleveland, you're going to see the discrepancy in play that we saw in the second half of that game. That's not going to be something that you have to worry about with this team. And I think more than anything, that's what kind of maybe reassures me in a sense, or at least gives me a little bit more solace, even with the rookie head coach coming into that.
Absolutely. I still remember when he said that, and I was like, did he mean to say that? Was that real?
Yeah, he's not one to mince his words.
No, he's definitely
very much
not
a straight shooter.
He's definitely not. But I was like, is this real life? We're halfway through the season and they don't have a zone package? Middle school teams have a zone package before the first game of the season, Stephen.
Correct.
Good Lord. Yeah. So if you want more insight on the whole Jordan Ott, DeMarre Carroll relationship, how they've kind of seen each other grow on their coaching journeys, I did write an article over at gophnx.com. It's for diehards only. Make sure to become a diehard because a lot of my content is for diehards only. We do have the occasional free article. Going to have one of those coming up, but all the player breakdowns that are going to be coming up, we've got like 8 new Suns players, and I'm going to be doing a written piece on each one of them. Steven's going to continue to plug away at these video breakdowns that he's so good at. And he does do extra content for the diehards. So you can get the free stuff, but you can also get the extra diehard stuff on top of, a free t-shirt, on top of access to our Suns diehard only Discord, which is popping these days. I have to turn off the notifications sometimes because I can't get any peace because everybody's so enthusiastic about this team again. It's nice. It's fun. Be a part of it. And don't be as, toxic as on Twitter. It's great. Steven, any final thoughts before we move on?
All good.
All right, perfect. We are going to talk about Rasheer Fleming and how he kind of fits into this equation because he's kind of flown under the radar with all the focus on the coaches and Come On Malawach. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Steven, I want to tell you about a company that was founded right here in Arizona, and that is Pure Edibles. They were founded here, and they have 130 dispensaries statewide. That is like one dispensary per $1 million that the Suns are going to spend on Bradley Beal over the next 5 years. That's incredible stuff. Their Pure gummies are not covered in sugar like a lot of their competitors. They are a full-fledged candy company that they offer the gummies. They offer kicks, which are kind of their version of Starburst, chews like soft candies and caramels, and hard candies as well. The Pure Effects are listed on the side of each tin, so you know exactly what to expect. There's no surprises there. And they offer sleep support as well as candies with uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids like CBN, CBG, CBD with marijuana-derived THC. They were actually created in Flagstaff at the Noble Herb Dispensary. That was their home. And then now they are here made in Arizona, Phoenix. So Pure Gummies are designed to be ripped in half or bit in half, making them easily shareable or easy to dial in your exact dose. So if you're just enjoying a night with the homies, share. Be kind and share. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. You know who else has a ton of locations here in Arizona? That is Mountain America Credit Union. They have 100 branches throughout the West. Maybe not in Arizona, but throughout the West. They have 100 branches. Again, that's like one branch per $1 million the Suns are going to be spending on Bradley Beal. It's a lot of branches. They're committed to helping more than 1 million customers. I'm not even going to make any more Bradley Beal jokes because I've ran them into the ground. But you can get 2 times the points on rewards credit card purchases through July 31st. Use your Mountain America rewards card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, groceries, travel, home projects, all other purchases. And the promotion is an easy way to kind of stretch your dollar so you can earn twice as many rewards. So redeem your double points for rewards like travel rebates, gift cards, events, tickets, but this is a limited time only offer, so take advantage while you can. Details at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's talk about Rasheer Fleming because I feel like with Come On Malawach, we're all super excited about him. Like it's been raving about Come On Malawach so far through 2 summer league practices, his character, his size, all of the things he's going to bring to the table that the Suns didn't need. We've also heard a lot about Kobe Brea in terms of Brian Gregory repeatedly hailing him as the best 3-point shooter in college the last few years. So we'll dive into Kobe Brea a little bit more as we go on, but we know what he brings to the table. Rasheer Fleming is the guy that is really intriguing to me because we both liked him at number 29 when that was the pick that the Suns still had. When he fell to the second round, we were wondering, okay, they've got like number 52 and number 59. What can they possibly do? And they moved all the way up to number 31 to take him before those darn Boston Celtics could. Good work by the Suns front office there because we both really, really like this kid. But Steven, we're going to get into kind of your breakdown because Steven did an excellent video breakdown today. It's on YouTube, and then there's an extra like 13 minutes for diehards only on top of the 23 that he did for everybody. So make sure to check that out after the show. Steven, nobody in the Sun space does these video breakdowns like Steven. But I wanted to talk to you about this because we heard from DeMarre Carroll, and he was kind of asked about what we actually heard from Jordan Ott as well, about DeMarre Carroll and how his 3-and-D skill set can be something that he can kind of help coax out of Rasheer Fleming. Here's what Ott had to say.
I think on the summer league team, it's multiple guys, right? It's Ryan and Rasheer. I think, again, it's both. Like, I think his shooting piece came later in DeMarre's career. I saw him a little bit later in his career. But yeah, he was known as more of a defender, a cutter, a guy that's going to get on the glass and get you extra possessions. That's how he started. And then he saw the game evolve. And then he shifted into more of a catch-and-shoot 3-point shooter, more of a slasher. but the defensive piece never went away. And I think, we all like to talk about offense. Like even me, when I started talking about Kaman, I talked about it as offense. But in reality, when you're a young guy in this league, it's really the defensive piece that gets you on the floor and keeps you on the floor.
Yeah, and in the conducive situations, the defensive piece is what gets you on the floor. In the less connected situation, it's not going to be it. But going forward for Rasheer Fleming and Ryan Dunn, which I'm glad Jordan Ott brought him up too, the way that those two can go about defending is so unique from anybody else. Dylan Brooks has it a little bit, but he doesn't have the athleticism that those two guys have. He makes up for it in different ways. Yeah, and mostly intangibles and physicality. But I think those two in particular, being able to learn from everything that DeMarre Carroll can relate to them with and teach them and show them on film, it's just going to expedite their skill development, and that's naturally going to make the team better incrementally as they're able to start kind of applying the lessons that he's teaching with them and showing them on film to correct things. So I don't think there's a better choice for that in particular to coach them in summer league in real time and having those conversations than DeMarre.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by Rasheer because obviously people are going to compare the 3-and-D skill set that he potentially brings to a DeMarre Carroll. But he kind of hinted at this at the rookie intro presser when he was saying, in college I was kind of, I was in that 3-and-D role, and it felt like he was kind of hinting at the Suns maybe being able to get a little bit more out of him beyond just that. And I don't want to say just that because 3-and-D in this league can, that's a good thing to have. Yeah. But I am fascinated by what he might be able to do off the dribble, what he's going to be able to do as a shooter, what he's going to be able to do in an offense that leans into cutting. Because in college, his 45 cuts, his timing, and just the sheer length and athleticism that he brings to the table was hard to stop. But since DeMarre Carroll is the guy that he's going to continue to get compared to, he was also asked about what he sees from Rasheer Fleming's game.
Rasheer, he's a freak athlete, right? He's way more athletic than I am. So I think me just trying to help him along the path, right? Help him with his shooting, helping him understand the game, helping him on the defensive side of the ball, little things like that. But, the sky's the limit for that kid. I think he has a great upside, and I'm here to kind of help him with that.
So to hear the complimentary nickname of DeMarre Carroll being Junkyard Dog.
Yep.
First of all, what a nickname that is.
Great nickname.
To be earned. That's that's different. But he wore it on a daily basis. And for him to be like this elite blue collar guy with his time at the peak of his powers, to extend that to both Ryan and Rasheer as well. But them to also be getting that from Dylan Brooks going into training camp in an evolved version in his own way. Again, it's an embarrassment of riches from that particular cloth of guys that are cut from there because it's just different when there's that level of relatability. Like it's just a word that keeps coming up today, but there's more relatability on this roster from the coaching staff and the players than it was last season. And I feel like all of that is setting up the young guys for as much success as they can get.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot over the last few weeks, but, Ryan Dunn said it yesterday. They want some dogs. Brian Gregory wants some dogs, and they have those guys, and not just on the roster itself, but on the coaching staff, because that's what DeMarre Carroll, fashioned his career into. That's how he made a name for himself, made millions of dollars, and played for, 11 years in the league, whatever it was. So that is encouraging for me when you look at a guy like Rasheer, when you look at the raw skill set that he has and the way that he could help this team. If he has incredible physical tools that Carroll never had. Yeah. So if you're able to couple, someone like DeMarre Carroll's junkyard dog approach with what Rasheer Fleming naturally brings to the table, that's going to be something really special and not something you typically see out of a second round pick. So I'm really hopeful for this kid. I'm hopeful that our consensus draft evaluations of how good he is hit, but I think he's being put in as good of a position as possible to do so. Yeah,
I think especially looking at some of the things stemming from the draft. First thing that came to mind for me was player comps he got akin to OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see the individual shot creation that OG's grown into, being a top 3 type of guy on the team that has championship aspirations.
Right.
Don't know if Rasheer has that. I would love to see it and assess it if he does, but all of the other OG dynamics that OG has, Rasheer has at his foundation. A player that at early points of last season was being dubbed as a prospect at the 5 and was one of the top 3-5 prospects in the league, in the entire nation last season. Obviously, he scales back to the 4, and he's still one of those at the 4 position as well. And the versatility that he can provide, I think he can come into the league, especially if his three-point shot is going down, playing anywhere between the 3 and the 5, which unlocks all types of lineups and schemes that you could play with defensively as well. So there's a lot, and I think the wild card adage is something that people kind of look at negatively, but I think it's complimentary because that means that you're just so able to do so many different things you can't be put in a box. And I think there's a lot of positivity that you can extract from it.
Yeah, that versatility is going to be interesting to see how it unfolds because, like you said, you could see him at any position from 3 to 5, but it'll be important in his rookie year to give him some type of consistency and not be throwing him all over the court unless he shows that he's capable of handling that from early on. So I'm fascinated to see whether they deploy him as a supersized wing, whether they use him as a 4 because of how big he is, or whether they give him some small ball 5 looks because of the incredible, 7'5" wingspan that he has. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, man. He's a condor.
Yeah. Those arms are insane, buddy. But I also want to talk about the 3-and-D aspect of it because I did ask Jordan Ott about what he's seen from Fleming and kind of brought up the fact that he, at his rookie intro presser, maybe suggested that he wants to grow into more than just that 3-and-D box. And I thought Jordan Ott gave a really great answer on this one. He talked about, at St. Joe's, it was more of a 3-and-D role, but it kind of felt like he feels he can do more and evolve more as a player.
Yeah, I think we will start there. You start with what you're good at. You don't try to come to this level and do something that you're not good at. So the 3-and-D piece, if you can do that at a high level, that makes for a long career too. So I saw when I was watching his college film was, first off, they had an NBA offense, which I thought was unique. The way they played was definitely NBA actions, NBA concepts. And then he played like a wing on the perimeter. Even though, like you said yesterday, like he was, a big at certain points of his career, he didn't play like a big. The way he moved, the way they used him, like even off of screens at his size was a bit unique.
So he brought up the obvious point about the NBA offense and how that could easily translate to the NBA, and I will want to get your thoughts on that. But I did find it interesting that he said, we'll start with the 3-and-D thing. That's a great starting point for a rookie. We're going to hammer that home, and then we can go from there. You don't want to come into the league doing things you're not good at because as a rookie, you're going to get embarrassed if you try to go about it that way. So I like that they're embracing that about him and not viewing it as, a box to be put in, but one that they're going to want to expand, make sure it's sturdy, and then grow it out a little bit.
I think that puts him ahead of the curve, honestly, because most rookies come into the league and you have one identifying marker as something that they're going to be good at coming in. If Rasheer's 3-point shooting holds up, I have significantly less questions about his defense because dude just figures it out, and he even has that eraser ability where he makes a mistake, he can just go and fix it by making a crazy out-the-box play.
Right.
If that 3-point piece holds up to even, I'll take 35%, 34%. Right at league average or just slightly below it, that's going to give him so much opportunity to expand upon it because if 3-and-D is your foundation and you can go into someone that's maybe able to take on a little bit more post usage or elbow touch usage, run isolations, run splits, run dribble handoffs, it just unlocks so much because those naturally blend into his skill as a ball handler, where he's in situations where he doesn't have to make crazy playmaking reads, but it is making a play. He can keep it in dribble handoffs like Draymond does, one of the best to ever do that. I just think there's just so much that you can get into with Rasheer. He's a great project, and a project, again, in a complimentary fashion because of how many skills that he brings to the fold.
Yeah, I think to your point, the 3-point shooting has to hold up at even a league average level because there are questions about that because his first 2 years, I think he shot like 31% from 3, and then last year jumped all the way to like 39. So we need to make sure that shooting efficiency is sustainable. But on the offensive end, in terms of the ball handling and the playmaking, the processing needs to improve. but he's not going to be tasked with being, the lead ball handler, the lead playmaker. Like you said, he's going to be put in positions where as a screener, as a cutter, because he's so good at cutting, he's going to be able to make some secondary reads. And if he can develop that part of his game, then you're talking about a much more versatile offensive piece than just, spot up 3-point shooter, that type of thing. He's a play finisher. Like, he's athletic. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the Suns can use him and tap into all these different things that he can do. But again, if you have not watched Steven's breakdown, you need to make sure that you do that. I want to pick your brain a little bit about that without giving too much of it away. And there is a lot in there, so we can't give too much of it away.
Anyway, I don't think we got enough time to get talking, honestly.
When you were going through the film on Rasheer, what were kind of some of the bullet points or some of the main takeaways that you want to kind of tease here?
Yeah, the first thing that stands out is undeniably the best athlete on the court.
Yeah.
And it shows up in so many different flashes where you're watching a play and you're like, oh, man, he just messed up right there.
Right.
And then, like I talked about, the eraser component to where he finds a way to just make up for it in ways that no one else on the court can. But also not having the ability to do that, also being able to actually do it. Like, you can want to do it all you want, but if you can't go and make up for it, your mistakes start to compound, and now it puts you in a bind to where your athleticism that is a plus, if you don't have the mindset to match it, it just kind of works against you in contrast. So he's a player that he gives a whole lot of crap about the defensive end of the floor. And again, that's something that the Suns just simply did not have last season. So it's very much a breath of fresh air, especially to come from someone that, is he 22, 21? I can't remember off the top of my head.
He's 20 because of his jersey number.
Right, exactly.
Things are happening for him at age 20, and he liked the way it looked next to his name. So
exactly.
I
I'm glad he's wearing 20 to help us remember that.
Hopefully a better 20 than the last one that was here.
We ain't got to get into that one.
Same thing with number 14. We can keep going, but I don't want to.
This is very relevant. Very relevant. But yeah, to the Rasheer point, understanding that he's very raw as a talent, but he's also coachable, because you can see it kind of documented over the course of the season for him last year. Some of the mistakes that he made early on, he wasn't repeating at the end. Some of the foul trouble issues that he saw early on, he corrected over time. And that discernment and discipline on the defensive end is as important as anything, because you can pressure all you want.
Right.
If you use up all your fouls and you only play about 18 minutes, so now no one has to worry about maybe the best defender for a particular archetype going up against them. What good does it do your team if you're on the bench watching? So
yeah,
I think that probably stands out most, all speaking to the defensive end before anything else.
Sure.
There's offensive stuff to get to, but was there anything that you saw defensively in your looking?
Yeah, so I think after watching your breakdown, watching my own film on him, reading some of the draft experts, because it is a lot this time of year to catch up on what guys have been doing all college season long, that tendency to maybe be a second late on a rotation or on processing where he needs to be, the foul trouble that you brought up in your video breakdown, how he's just kind of like a second late to get to the spot he needs to get to, and how he was able to compensate for that a lot of the time with his athleticism. That's not going to be as available an avenue to him at the NBA, because there's a lot of great athletes in the NBA. And while Rasheer is incredibly athletic, you have to be able to process the game as well to be a good defender at this level. But it is encouraging that from what you watched as the year went on, he got better at that. I think there will still be a learning curve for him a little bit going from college to the pros in terms of processing those things a little bit better. I think foul trouble might be an issue for him. He'll probably have to bulk up as much as he's, very long. He's kind of like Ryan Dunn. He's going to have to get a little bit stronger as well. But I do think the tools are there for him to be really, really good defensively. And I think if he is good defensively and Dunn is unleashed the way that we want, that is a terrifying, long-limbed, athletic as hell duo that can turn turnovers into pick sixes and electrifying dunks. And that felt like it was in way too short supply last year.
Yep, and I'm glad you mentioned that part in particular is a perfect transition to offense. But the EGBs that you got from Oso Ighodaro earlier last season, energy generating behavior. No one in recent Suns history has that spades that Rasheer Fleming does, and it's quite impressive to watch it. Multiple times in the film session, I document him being 7, 8, 10 steps behind where the ball is and where everyone else is, transitioning from his team on offense, getting back on defense. And he finds a way to get into back into the screen, yet alone actually the play and making one for his teammates, whether it's in a secondary fashion or just doing it himself. And then also compiling that and being the first player down the court as a rim runner on offense as well, to where he's posting up smaller guys in transition and he's either getting a touch and finishing quick or it's opening up shooters in transition spacing. Those multiple effort sequences are very different. And naturally getting to the offensive side, offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
If you put someone smaller on him, if you switch against them, you might not get a shot that you want from him, but he's going to put that person under the basket, get an offensive rebound, and get an extra possession, if not score for himself, or get to the free throw line and all of that. That part is very important. I think that's significantly translatable for him. And the other big thing for me is quick decisions.
Yeah.
Whether he's catching it on closeouts and driving or deciding to shoot, or he's getting it in the flow after play breaks down, he's making quick decisions to pass it to someone else or get into a dribble handoff or skip it or, do a bunch of different things. I feel like that part of it is at his foundation. And speaking to him playing in an NBA-style offense, that really helps to expedite his process.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on there was that one play early in your breakdown that you were talking about where he kind of helped them get a defensive rebound with his athleticism, and then he just turned and immediately booked it up the court. And because he's so fast, he wound up getting a dunk out of it. It was really bad transition defense, whoever they were playing. But he was wide open because he just ran the floor and he flipped that switch. And we see him do it defensively too, because there was that one block he had at the rim where he was helping on a driver, turned around, jumped, and just blocked it above the rim like it was nothing. Yeah. That quick twitch athleticism is something else. So I think if he starts to pair those natural physical abilities with his ability to read the game and see where the ball is going to go on both ends of the court, that's going to serve him really well because he is a play finisher through and through on both sides of the ball. Anything else in terms of Rasheer's film or your breakdown that you want to kind of plug here?
Yeah, last big thing for me with Rasheer, we didn't see it as much in this film session just because there's a lot of other loud stuff to document for him. But him as a help defender, whether it's literal rim protection or also if he's at the nail, 6'9" with a 7'5", almost 7'6" wingspan, that's a load to deal with in terms of if you want to skip it and get to the second side. You might not have that passing window. And there was one play actually that we got to in there where he got a steal where he was playing two in a situation where most people just wouldn't be able to get a deflection. So that part is important. I think we'll see that a lot in Summer League. And then the last big thing for me, Kobe Bryant. We haven't talked a lot about him yet. We'll have a film session coming on him between the next day and some change to kind of highlight some of his strengths and weaknesses too.
Perfect. That's going to be fun. I am supposed to speak to the Kentucky coach, Mark Edward Pope, here soon, so we'll get some insight on him for next week as well. For Kobe Bryant, we got someone in the chat saying we're talking about him like he's Cooper Flagg. Why don't we touch on some weaknesses then? Because we're very enthusiastic about this kid. I think Steven and I both were very high on him in our draft evaluations. But we definitely understand that he's not perfect and that it's going to take some time. Like we will continue to beat this into the ground. Like the Suns might not be a good team next year, but as long as they're fun and they're young and they play with an identity and a purpose and a culture, that's going to be better than last year, even if they lose more games than they did last year. Like, even if they're not even close to the playoffs, I would rather watch that than watch a supremely talented team just repeatedly fail to meet expectations. So if that's how we're coming off, we know that he has weaknesses, but we're very excited about some of these youngsters and what they might be able to grow into. And we haven't been in a position where we've been able to talk about rookies like that much outside of Dunn and Ighodaro for like 5 years now.
Yeah, exactly. But what I will say though, like I'm definitely not making it seem like he's Cooper Flagg, but defensively though, he has the potential to be at that level. Like make no mistake about it. Even with all of the rawness about his approach to things at times, he has abilities that Cooper Flagg doesn't have on defense. And that's not even a slight at Cooper. Right. That's just an uplift to kind of speak to Rasheer. But flaws-wise, yes, we've talked about the fouls, especially on ball, being able to slide at certain angles to where you're beating someone to the spot rather than putting too much pressure on them and then ultimately getting a foul called on you. Staying out of that foul trouble is important. Offensively, I feel like more of his flaws are allowed than the defensive end, and that's where little things like him getting to his spots early to take shots, getting his base set rather than shooting fadeaways or side fades on the three-point attempts that he does get up. When his base is solid, his percentage is there. When he's drifting a little bit, it kind of varies a little bit more. So that part is important for him. Also, my decision-making part for him on the drives. He can get to the paint whenever he wants to, but what does it look like once he gets there? Once he gets there, the footwork part I spoke to it, Ryan Dunn, copy and paste it there with Rasheer as well. And then the last big thing for me is the shot selection part. You don't want to always be taking contested shots, especially in the NBA. So you want to make sure you get that part together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for Fleming's game to develop, he's going to have to develop a little bit of an in-between game. Because right now it's very much 3 or rim, which are the most efficient shots you want to be shooting, but there's very little in between if he gets cut off on his drives to the rim or if the 3 ball is taken away. So I think developing that will be one of his swing skills outside of the obvious, the 3-point efficiency needs to hold up. But that is going to do it for us here at the PHNX Suns podcast. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. Make sure to check out his video breakdown, and you can follow me at Gerald Bourguet. Until tomorrow, we're going to talk about some of the specific Suns players that you need to watch in Summer League.
We all silly like the mayor.